Welcome back, everyone. I'm Robbie.
I'm Jeremy.
And we're finishing up the Harry Potter films today before we move on to Fantastic Beasts. Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2. We've already done Part 1, obviously, so go check that out before we see this one. But enjoy.
Fought valiantly. Now join me, Harry, and confront your fate.
Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2 was directed by David Yates once again, and of course once again we have Daniel, Rupert and Emma coming back as the main three, and pretty much a lot of returning casts, even ones that haven't been in the last few come back in this one.
Definitely.
Emma Thompson returns for a brief role, and heaps of people. And added to the cast is Kieran Hines as Aberforth Dumbledore, and Kelly MacDonald as the Grey Lady.
Yeah, the final chapter in the Harry Potter saga, everything has been leading up to this movie or this part of the book, and it's wrapping up and everything is coming together. This one has so much more emotion than any of the others, in my opinion. More so because of its relation to how serious the book is. In saying that, though, there is a lot that they veered away from in the book. A lot. One
moment in particular.
Yeah.
Before we move on, again, spoiler warning for book and movie and pretty much the entire Harry Potter saga.
Yeah.
So that's your warning if you haven't seen the movies or read the books.
Get a life, and go watch them and read them now.
I mean, I can't disagree with that.
But yeah, so like, I mean, at the very start is leading literally right on from part 1, and Dobby rescued Griphook and Luna from Malfoy Manor, and then the next stage is then going. The trio have finally figured out how to destroy the Horcruxes, and they're continuing the hunt, and that's literally leading on from the first one. So this one, the movie starts quite slow in that sense.
Yeah. After a fantastic little opening, which debuts Lily's theme, which is such a beautiful theme.
Yes, of course.
And we get our first glimpse of what has become of Hogwarts with Snape as headmaster.
Yeah.
And then we jump straight into pretty much Dobby's burial scene. Straight after that. And
very dark to begin a movie with.
Yeah.
But
we get a fun little action Gringotts scene. A little bit more kind of exploring different areas, trying to find Horcruxes, and then it's straight to Hogwarts. First to Hogsmeade, where they meet Aberforth, then straight to Hogwarts, and then it's the big battle, all-out battle. I will say this before moving on. This is my favourite Harry Potter film. It's probably my favourite book in the series, and Part 2 is my favourite Harry Potter film. And it's one of my all-time favourite films of all time. I adore this movie for the reason that while it does deviate from certain aspects, the film works so well as a whole, and it's such an amazing wrap-up to everything that's gone before. It is an emotional conclusion, it is a great story conclusion, and it's just very fulfilling as a whole.
It is.
Yeah.
And I know there were a lot of aggrieved Harry Potter fans that didn't like the deviation from the book, but and I totally get it. I totally understand how a lot of aspects from the book the fans needed to have in the movie, But at the same time, like, you can't go, letter to letter like that, because it won't always work. And I honestly think David Yates and the crew have done a brilliant job at doing that, even regardless of the inaccuracies to the book as well.
I guess, the biggest inaccuracy in the film, in my eyes, is what Harry does with the Elder Wand at the end.
Yes.
So in the movie, Daniel Radcliffe, Harry, he breaks the Elder Wand in two and chucks it off the bridge.
In the book, he uses the Elder Wand to repair his wand, which broke in part 1, and then reburies it with Dumbledore.
Yeah. Because that way, once the idea of that being, once the current master of the Elder Wand, which is actually Harry, once he passes away in years later, the Elder Wand will be masterless.
Yes, it will be, it'll be useless until someone finds it.
It'll have no allegiance to anyone.
So, so long as it's buried and untouched by any dark wizards, it's safe. And that is what I wish. At least you could see Harry doing that, because that, proves even more his allegiance and his loyalty to Dumbledore, I think. But I think I think that if there's any problem I have with the film, it's that they spent too much time and money on CGI and special effects, when they should have spent that time and money on storytelling. At least a little bit more. Like, the whole scene when Harry and Voldemort are sort of morphing together and while they're flying, I felt like that was kind of wasted. I also feel like, not that it doesn't personally bother me as much as other problems I've had with the series, but the final battle between Voldemort and Harry has always been in the Great Hall, and it's like that huge speech where Harry tells Voldemort why the Elder Wand was never his and it hasn't been his this entire time, and that like emotional breakdown and that final triumph over Voldemort. I didn't see that as much as I wanted to on the screen, but in saying that, it was still pretty incredible.
Yeah. I'm glad it works extremely well in the book. I'm glad that Voldemort doesn't die the way he dies in the book, because that would have been kind of anticlimactic for a film. In the book, Dumbledore and Harry, they cast Expelliarmus and Avada Kedavra at each other again. Did I say Dumbledore?
You said Dumbledore. He's been dead.
Voldemort. Not Dumbledore, Voldemort. They cast the spells at each other, and they meet in midair and they rebound. Harry gets hit by the Expelliarmus, and Voldemort gets hit by his own Avada Kedavra, and because all his Horcruxes are now gone, he dies on the spot. Which, when you're reading it, is a fantastic end, but I think on screen they wouldn't have translated as a big triumph moment. I'm glad they did kind of have the whole Prior Incantatem similar thing again, where their wands joined, and then Harry just overpowered Voldemort. Not so much because Voldemort's less powerful, because he's not, but because Voldemort is desperate and Harry has something, like they say in Order of Phoenix, has something worth fighting for, and so Harry's will is stronger than Voldemort, and that's what overcomes the bad guy in the end. And I think that's a much more fitting cinematic end for him.
I do agree. Can we talk about Matthew Lewis for a sec?
Yeah.
God, incredible performance as Neville Longbottom. Like, wow.
For me, the two biggest story arcs, character arcs in the entire series are Snape and Neville.
Yeah, definitely. Yes. To think that Neville... he wasn't really in part 1 at all, but to think that he's come from being such a...
From Philosopher's Stone, this timid little shy person
who's had his almost his entire family and life ruined, has just come up to save the day like he did.
Yeah.
And it's almost, his sort of triumph scene is almost perfectly from the book, if I remember correctly, pulling the sword and killing Nagini.
Yeah.
And that's great. The fact that the sword hadn't really presented itself to any like worthy Gryffindor ever since Harry, really. And to think that it was Neville who
Would
really
be the next one.
who really showed his Gryffindor worth and pulled the sword was quite remarkable.
And it's not just in that scene, like the scene when he stands up alone to Voldemort.
And that's from the book as well,
Yeah.
from memory.
Yeah.
Like, oh god.
That scene is so good.
And
It's so good
yeah.
because even though we as the audience know that Harry's not dead because you see him talking to Narcissa very briefly in the Forbidden Forest. Not talking, but like moving his head.
Yeah, yeah.
But so we know he's alive, but it's such a just that moment when because Voldemort thinks he's won, and he is so full of himself in that
so
scene.
So cocky, yeah.
And I was like, Harry Potter is dead.
Yeah. Ray Fiennes.
Ray Fiennes, amazing job. But then just seeing that moment when Harry comes back to life, and the look on Voldemort's face is almost just as powerful as anything else I could have done.
And he loses control. Like he's so determined to, try and kill him as he's running off.
Yeah.
And he just can't, just because he's so...
And you can see, like, with everything unraveling around him, he looks lost. He generally looks lost.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah.
And like, even like the way he was laughing when Neville was talking, as if like he's like, haha, good one, sort of deal.
Yeah.
Like even that was pretty...
It's a great moment there. Yeah. And not that we haven't seen Voldemort being evil beforehand, but in that final 5 minutes when it's the big duel between him and Harry going through the castle, you really feel the sadistic nature of him coming out, where he just wants to slaughter this kid.
Yeah.
The other big bit that I think we should talk about is, well, not one bit, but like all the character deaths in the film. There's some big ones in this one. Lupin, Fred.
The thing with like Lupin and Tonks, for example, like their deaths aren't witnessed. It's just you see their bodies afterwards. And that's actually another big problem I had with deviating from the book, is the fact that the movie didn't have time to reflect on every single death. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And if it had, it probably would have been a more heartbreaking film, but it also would have taken up too much time to focus on other more important things, like Lily's scene, Snape's pensive scene, for example. Like that took up like a good, what was it? It was like a 7 to 10 minute run almost, and that is what the film needed to focus on, scenes like that. Whereas focusing on the deaths, probably at least some of them, like people who had big roles, like Tonks throughout the film only had a few big scenes. Whereas Remus had such like a forward role in the third one. At least you could have focused on his death a little bit more. Yeah,
I'm glad. I mean, in the book you see Fred die. I am kind of glad we don't see it on screen because I think it would have been too heartbreaking to see.
He dies in an explosion, isn't it right?
Pretty much, yeah. At the same time, no, I'm glad we didn't. I'm glad we don't see that. But we do still get to mourn Fred. Like there is a good couple of minutes devoted to the Weasleys mourning Fred, and that's a hard scene to watch. But there's other moments. I think, the film is the shortest of all of them. So at the same time, I'm like, could it have benefited from that extra half an hour like the other films have, to put in those extra scenes?
I think it definitely could have.
But at the same time, I feel like it would have broken up the pace too much.
Maybe, but
because it has such momentum, the film.
Yeah, but I think, you could have found time in other sort of areas of the film. So let's say, like, the film's kicked off properly at dawn, basically, during the Battle of Hogwarts, where Voldemort, started to show his presence, and he started to fight Harry, and from that point it pretty much was really quick until the end. But leading up to that, the initial sort of assault on Hogwarts, I reckon you could have fit in at least a few more touching scenes with some of the more beloved characters, like Remus, like Remus, and even like just a little bit. It don't have to show Fred's death, but at least Fred and George, like at least what they were doing. I guess you see them preparing for it.
You do, yeah. You get that nice scene, but with the two of them where George's like, you ready, Freddie? And I feel like I'm saying something from Bohemian Rhapsody. There's that little scene where there's the two of them.
Yeah. But a little bit more of that is what I think the film needed.
Yeah, I can see that. Like it worked for me the way it was, but I can see, like I would never say no to more like emotional scenes, but
in saying that though, this film is still almost perfect for me. Like the score, like Statues, is my favorite Harry Potter theme.
Yeah. Second
probably to Hedwig's theme if I really had to push it.
Yeah.
But that whole scene where McGonagall's like conjuring the statues to...
I always wanted to use that spell.
Like, it's great. The fact that she's still so loyal and devoted to protecting the school, and like all of the teachers using the shield spell, whatever it was called. Yeah. Like was
what I love about part 2 is like McGonagall, up till part 6, Half-Blood Prince, we've only ever really seen her as the authority figure in the film. Here you see her as not just a fierce warrior during scenes, someone with a lot... I mean, we always see her with someone with great strength, but here we see her as someone who's very brave, but also we get to have a much more compassionate side to her.
Yeah.
Which you do get a little bit at the end of Half-Blood Prince. But in this one even more, like when Harry comes back, and just a simple line, the Potter, it's good to see you, and the way she delivers it is very, very good. And again, like that bit when she uses the spell, like I always want to use that spell. You see more of the fun side of McGonagall.
It's also probably worth mentioning that Maggie Smith was battling cancer during the filming of that movie, and the fact that she still did such an incredible job, like, goes to show how much of an incredible actress she really is. So like, hats off to her. She's probably my favourite of I mean, Sirius Black isn't around anymore, but probably my favourite of all the actors in that film.
Not Alan Rickman.
Like, I really love Alan Rickman.
God, there's so many to choose from.
Yeah, but I think the touching thing about Snape's character is not Alan Rickman in this movie, but just Snape's backstory.
Yeah.
And how it plays into Harry and Lily and the love for Lily, and how like Snape was always a good guy. He was never going to let Harry down.
Yeah. That scene in the boathouse, which does deviate a bit from the book, but I think the way it happens in the book, I think would have translated quite well on screen.
No, it would have looked... I reckon...
It would have looked a bit goofy.
Weird, yeah, it would have looked strange watching that happen.
Yeah, in the book, the way Snape dies, it is still by the hands of Nagini, but...
Or the mouth of Nagini?
Yeah.
Yeah.
True. From memory, Snape doesn't get his throat cut by Voldemort previously, though. Because in the movie, Snape with his wand cuts... Sorry, Voldemort cuts Snape's throat with his wand. You see him just slat, and then Voldemort, and then keep getting the names mixed up. Snape collapses,
falls. Yeah,
and then he gets finished up by Nagini.
Yeah.
In the movie, God, in the book, Voldemort encloses Snape in this cage, like a bubble or something. I thought it was a bubble.
Oh, it's a spell that Voldemort put on Nagini to protect her.
Yeah.
So he puts Nagini and whatever it is, some cage bubble, over Snape.
Yeah. And Snape is trapped in there, and he gets slaughtered by Nagini.
Which I think, and then after that happens, because Dumbledore thought... see, now I'm doing it. Because Voldemort thought that Snape had the mastery of the Elder Wand. After that moment, Voldemort took the spell off Nagini, thinking that he was unkillable.
Yeah.
So yeah, that would have looked weird. I'm glad that the way they did it.
It's much more streamlined on the film.
Yes, I agree, and that's what I'm talking about when I say like those things. They would, like, I guess you agree with me as well, won't make sense on film. Like, it just wouldn't work properly from the book.
Yeah, those deviations, I have no issues with it at all. One aspect that gets brought into the film, I can't remember if it's really in the book. Maybe it is after we read it. Is Voldemort's voice that is heard throughout Hogwarts when he's threatening them all. is terrifying. And the way it leads up to that with the different students in the Great Hall collapsing and screaming from hearing it, and then Voldemort's voice comes in, and it's eerie, that scene.
Yeah, it's creepy. Gives me chills when I watch it.
Because it's loud, but it's still very soft-spoken. Yeah, that's a great scene.
Also, the Caro brothers, or siblings, I think it's brother and sister, I can't remember off the top of my head. But
They're brother and sister, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, their death, they were actually killed by Harry and McGonagall. In the book.
Yeah.
And that's because they were Death Eaters, but I think one of them like spat in McGonagall's face, and Harry just wasn't having it, and that's that.
God, I need to read this book again. There's so many bits I've forgotten. Yeah.
Like that, the amount of loyalty Harry must have shown to McGonagall to them. I don't know if he killed them or he incapacitated them.
Remember.
Who knows? But in the movie, Snape actually kills them, not on purpose.
Yes, that's
but
right.
But that whole scene where Harry's hiding in the group of Hogwarts students and he comes out. And
he deflects the spells and they hit the Carrows,
And part of me thinks that he did that on purpose. Like, he didn't have to do it.
I feel like he did it on purpose.
Yeah.
That way he was still doing his part as trying to protect them, but it made it look like he was just deflecting the spells.
Yeah, he's very good at that.
Yeah. One scene that I was, fingers crossed, going into the movie that they weren't going to cut or change or deviate was Molly Weasley going up against Bellatrix.
Yeah, definitely.
And they leave the line in there too. Not my daughter, you bitch.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that's in there. And it's such an awesome moment.
Yeah, it is. I kind of wish it went for a little bit longer though. Like, I kind of wish it was a bit more fulfilling. Because it's over pretty quickly. Like, Bellatrix is quite, I don't know if lazy is the right word, but she does like 2 spells and then she just stops and then like just lets herself die. Like, I wish that the fight between Molly and Bellatrix was a little bit more like intense. But regardless, it was still really good.
Yeah, it was a great moment. It was a really stand-up and cheer moment.
Yeah.
Which I remember a lot of people in the audience did when I was watching it the first time. All in all, like I said, it's my favourite film of the franchise. Despite its few flaws, but it works so well together. What are you giving it?
5 stars.
Yeah, it's an easy 5 stars for me.
Come on, Tom. Let's finish this the way we started. Together!
Only I can live forever.
Alright everyone, thank you for watching. That wraps up our review story on Harry Potter. Hit the subscribe button if you'd like to see our next review, which is Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, leading up to the release of Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and we'll see you at the movies.